Today's Gemara in Beitzah Daf Vav, the final day of the year, the final day of Elul as well. This is all the learning for this month has been sponsored and should be a tremendous chos. Ilin Neshama, Fasil Rezel, Basar Meir. Our neshama should keep ascending higher and higher and higher. The learning of the entire chabura, the sponsorship of her family should be a tremendous ili neshama. Of course, I'm sure as many people realize, we're trying to get the shiurim up a bit earlier, so those could prepare for Yontif. Yontif being in the middle of the week, right after Shabbos, is a little bit difficult for those who want to try to stay ahead of the daf. So Mir Tashem, we will facilitate in trying to get everything up a bit earlier, so those who want to be ahead of the game and not have the lachatz and Rosh Hashanah could be there. And in Mir Tashem, we should be able to do that as well for all the Yom Tovim. We'll always try to have it up earlier, God willing. And now we will pick it up from Hamid Beis, 6 lines from the bottom. Rava Amar, last day of the year, last day, everything goes, the last licks, as they say. So let's get to it. Mir Tashem, Rosh Hashanah, tomorrow's daf. Rava Amar Afbi Tekanas Yichlam and Zakav Eiluch Beitzah Asura. Comes like Rava. What did Rabba say yesterday? Rabba said a fascinating thing that when Rav Yichlam and Zaka came along and decided that you could accept Eidos the entire day and we're not concerned of Rosh Hashanah, said Rabba, an egg that was born on day number 1 is mutter on day number 2. Says Rava, absolutely not. Even Afbi Tekanas Yichlam and Zakav Eiluch Beitzah Asura. So again, Rava is arguing on Rabba. Me loy moider yechem zakish bo edim in a minchol lamayla shenoy yisem kadosh lamachar kadosh. Says Rav, you know why? Rav Yechem and Zaki, he admits that what happens if edim come late in the day after minchol lamayla, that day and the next day is kadosh, and therefore says Rava, it's going to have to be that the egg born on day number 1 is going to be usher on day number 2. It's all going to be considered one entity of kedusha, and therefore you cannot eat the egg on the next day. V'amar Rava. And says Rav, and hopefully the statement should be a bit of a familiar statement from 2 days ago. Says the Gemara, Va'amai Rava, Hilchslik Kasev de Rav Bahani Tlas, Bein Lekula, Bein Lechumra. We just finished discussing 3 cases of eggs born on consecutive days, Shabbos, Yontif, Shabbos, Rosh Hashanah. Says the Gemara, the Psak Halacha is like Rav. The Psak Halacha is Bein Lekula, Bein Lechumra. Again, Shabbos before Yontif, 2-day Yontif, or 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. What is the Halacha? Rav says in all these cases it is going to be forbidden. Again, let's just do a quick run through. On Dalet Ben Aleph, we have the case of Shabbos before Yontif. Shabbos before Yontif, and in that case, Rav said the egg is also, even the egg born on Shabbos, is also the next day on Yontif. On Dalet Amud Beis, yesterday we had the case, 2 days ago we had the case, 2 days of Yontif outside of Eretz Yisrael, a regular 2-day Yontif, like this year, Sukkot is on a Tuesday, Wednesday. What does Rav say? Rav says you should not eat the egg on the second day. And finally, 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, Rav says you're not allowed to eat the egg on the second day. Actually, one more second, that the let's leave it and let's move on to today's daf. So says the Gemara, moving over to Vav Amud Aleph. Again, it's one of those things, we just have to go back and go to each source on its own and realize we're passing like Rav in those 3 cases and just iron it home. But for now, let's continue. Says Rava, Amar Rava, the top of Vav Amud Aleph. Meis be Yontif Rishon is asku by Amimim. If someone is Nifter Rachman al-Tzlan on the first day of Yontif, what is the halacha? Amimim goyim are allowed to deal with the mace. Mace b'yantiv sheni, on the second day of Yantiv, Yaskva Yisrael, even Jews can deal with the mace. Va'afilu b'shnei yom tayvin shel Rosh Hashanah, even on Rosh Hashanah. Masha'en kim Beitzah, which is not true about the Beitzah. That is the opinion of Rava. Nardaya Amri have a Beitzah. Even the same din is going to be on the egg that is going to be mutter. Because what do you think? What is the reason What is the reason that you're going to tell me? You, Rava, that said the egg is going to be aser. What's the reason? Because what's the concern? The concern is that maybe Elul's going to be full, and there were both days of Rosh Hashanah is really Kedusha Achas, like we keep on discussing. It never happened. It never happened, and therefore we do not have to be concerned. And the verse says, Naharda, just like you could be dealing with a mace on the second day, so to the egg on the second day is going to be mutter. And Amar Marzucha concluding Le'amar Nelo Deishtahi says Marzucha, when do we say that if some mace that was born, we're going to allow a yid to deal with the kvura, the burial on the second day, is only if the burial, was delayed. And meaning, but if it's not delayed, meaning the person who just lifted right now, we can wait. Meaning, Marzuch is explaining that the dispensation for allowing a yid, of course, a mace is muksa, dealing with the kavur and everything is forbidden. The reason we're allowing it, says Marzuch, is covered on mace. That if the mace was nifted the day before, the body is starting to decay and getting disgusting, and therefore, we're going to let even a yid on Yantiv Sheni deal with the kavura. But says Marzuch, if someone is nifter on that day, on the second day of Yantiv, then we do not have to be concerned, and we could wait until after Yontif. And Rav Ashi Amar, he disagrees. Even if it's not the case, even if it's not from yesterday, the mace was mace on the second day of Yontif, we do not wait to bury him. My time, what is the reason? Yontif Sheni legabe mace. Kechol Shavi Rabbanon. Yontif Sheni for a mace is like a weekday. Afilu even 4 says Rav Ashi lemegaz le glima ulemegaz le asa. Even to cut for him a shirt or to cut for him a hadas to put on top of the aroin. And now this is a very important rule of Rav Ashi. This is the halacha lemaisa. That mace the Yontif Sheni legabe mace is kechol shavinu. What's important to realize is this is one of the. There's not many differences Yontif Rishon Yontif Sheni. One of the differences is mace. Other difference I think we mentioned one time is in Yantiv Sheni we hold that refuah, taking medicine, is going to be mutter, and that is that. Now the truth is, we'll just mention, I'm sure many people are wondering, wait, we've never been at a levaya on the second day of Yantiv. If you're wondering that, it's because there are different shuvas or moshe, etc., that are perhaps a bit more stringent nowadays, and we don't really make levayas in second day Yantiv. But there certainly are Hasidim, etc., and other places that they have done levayas on the second day of Yantiv. Of course, it's quite difficult because everyone has to walk. You can't do any real malach, etc. Sorry for carrying the mace and whatnot. But that is the statement of Rav Ashi that mace the Yantiv Sheni legabe mace is kechol shavenu. Amar Ravina. Nowadays that we have chavri, we have these goyim that are forcing us to, work for them if we work for ourselves, chayshinan, and therefore we don't do any burial at all on the second day of Yontif. This is one of the marmakemis I think that they come from, that nowadays we are a bit more machmir. Ravina comes on the Gemara. Ravina have Yosef Kamid the Ravasi b'shnei Tayvim Shel Rosh Hashanah, Erev Rosh Hashanah, learning about Rosh Hashanah, incredible. They were sitting in front of him on 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, Chazi Davi Yosef. He sees that he's sad. He says, what are you being sad again? Now Rashi points out, what's going on over here? Rosh Hashanah was Thursday, Friday, going straight into Shabbos, a 3-day Yontif. So he sees that he's sad. Amrlei, why are you sad? Amrlei, I don't have an ear of Tashilin, and therefore I can't cook for Shabbos. I'm not going to have food on Shabbos. Amrlei responded, so make the ear of Tashilin today on Yontif. Miloi Amar the Rabbi not teaches me you're allowed to make an Erev on Yantif. We've seen this Gemara, I believe, on Shabbos perhaps. Then you make it tonight, and therefore you're allowed to do it right now. So why are you sad? Make an Erev today on Yontif and thereby allow yourself to cook for Shabbos. Amar Lei responded, Mardamar Rabba. When did Rabba say you're allowed to make an Erev Tavshilin on Yontif for Shabbos? Is only outside of Eretz Yisrael in 2 days of Yontif when it's a Safek. Mi Amar. Did he say it on the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, as we keep on pointing out? Why? Because the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are Kedusha Achas, one entity of Kedusha. V'Amar Nardai, so Rav Ashi says, one second, I lost my place. B'Shem Tavim Shel Galius, B'Shem Tavim Shel Rosh Hashanah. Mi Amar, V'Amar Nardai, Af Beitzah Mutares. Bernadai taught us that even the egg is going to be mutter. 1 second. Nardai said, if the egg's going to be mutter, how's that going to be mutter in Rosh Hashanah? It means it's not Kedusha. You just told me the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah is one big Kedusha, and therefore we're not going to be lenient. 1 second. Nardai said, 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, the egg is allowed on the second day. We see that it is a suffix. We see it's the exact same thing as all the days of Yontif. Amar Alei, Rav Mordechai explains, Rav Mordechai, Beferish Amar Mari explains to me explicitly, to Leisav Lad and Nardai, that he does not hold with that which Ardai said, and that is the reason why he said you would not be allowed to make the Erev Tavshilin on Yontif for Shabbos. And now that's sort of the end of this discussion of the 2 days of Yontif, and now we're going to go back a bit more into the Beitzah Shenoldo B'Yontif. We learned many concepts. Of course, these are concepts that need to be driven a bit deeper. The concept of Kedusha Achas of Rosh Hashanah, the concept that the 2 days of Yontif are ostensibly a suffix. It's a doubt which day is which, and therefore we're going to be more lenient from day 1 to day 2. But of course, nowadays, obviously, there is no leniency. You cannot do anything from day 1 to day 2. That's absolutely forbidden. And we pointed out that the one kula is going to be for a mace. Hopefully that should never happen. And from now we will continue. Itmar, says the Gemara, about 12 lines to the bottom. The first one line is Savar. Says the Gemara, what is the story with a chick that hatches on Yontif? Our Mishnah discussed it. Beitzah Shenoldo B'Yontif. The egg pops out. What about if the shell cracks open and pops out the little head, the little chick on Yontif? Rav Amar Aser Shmuel V'Deimer Rav Yechon Amar Mutter. We have a machlokes, and now the Gemara explains. Rav Amar Aser, why Muksa? It's Muksa. Shmuel V'Deimer Rav Yechon Amar Mutter. Hayolu Mater Asmei B'Shchita. Since you're allowed to shech the chick, therefore it doesn't become muksa. So machlekes, what is the status of a freshly born, we'll call it, chick that pops out of the shell on Yontif? Says the Gemara, Amri lei Rav Kahana Rav Asi the Rav. They asked Rav. Rav was the opinion that said it's forbidden that the chick that pops out its head on Yontif, you're not allowed to use that chick. Why? It's muksa, said Rav. Says Rav Kahana and Rav Asi, a calf that is born in Yontif, are you allowed to use that calf? Of course. Why? According to what you just said, it should be muksa. What's the difference between the chick popping out its head and a calf coming out of its mommy in Yontif? Amar lahu, Rav responds, you know what the difference is? The difference is that the calf is prepared for due to its mother for shechita, and therefore it's still allowed even now. Meaning, let's just understand the comparison. The Gemara is obviously now going to have this ping pong game, figuring out exactly the nuances of the comparison, but I have an egg with a chicken inside. I have a mommy with a baby inside, a mommy animal. So the mommy animal, we said, that animal's for sure not muksa. Why? Because the mommy you could shecht. But the chick that came out of the shell, we're saying is different, because there's no mommy that you could potentially shecht. Says the Gemara, 1 second. If I have a calf that comes from a treifa, the mommy, the treifa, I would not be allowed to shecht. And yet, the egel, the calf that comes out, I'm yes allowed to shecht. So seemingly the same thing should be over here. The chick came out of the shell, even though you can't shecht the shell, you can't do anything with the shell, but it should be the same thing. Says the Gemara, Shasak Rav. Rav was quiet. Seemingly doesn't have an answer. Again, Rav rules that the chick that comes out of the shell is forbidden. Says the Gemara, Rav seemingly has no way to respond. Why is an egel, a calf that's born from a treifa, allowed, even though the mother you can't shecht? So the chick should be the same thing. Why was Rav silent? You know what the answer is? He can respond. The mommy, what was the mommy? The mommy's a treifa. You can't eat a treifa. I agree. But does that have any usage? Of course it has a usage. Throw it to the dogs. You can feed your animals. So just like it does have a usage, so too the egel, the calf that comes out, is not muksa. But when it comes to the chick out of the shell has no usage, so the chick is muksa. So Rav is givaldik. Why did Rav not respond as that? Amarle Abaye. So Abaye now explains for Rav why he didn't respond. Hashda, an important rule. Something that is prepared for man is not prepared for dogs. Let's see. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, you got to cut up the gourd for the animals, you got to cut up the carcasses for the dogs. If the animal wasn't on Nevela, if it did not die before a Shabbos, you're not allowed to throw it to the dogs. Why? Because it's not prepared, it's muksa. Have muchan le'adam. That which is prepared for a dog is prepared for a. Muchan leklavim. Have muchan le'adam is something that was prepared for a dog, prepared for a person. Of course not. Therefore, says the Gemara, the fact that you can throw the mami, the treifa to a dog, does not make the calf prepared for a human. So this is how Abaye is defending for Rav. Again, Rav said, let's get the whole progression over here. Rav said the chick that comes out of the shell, what's the status is muksa. The Gemara says, why is it muksa? It should be just like an egel, a calf that came out of the mommy. Just like the calf, the calf I'm allowed to eat. Says the Gemara, no comparison. The calf you can eat, why? Because you can check the mommy. This chick, there's nothing you could do. Says the Gemara, 1 second. But what if the mommy was a treifa? If the mommy was a treifa, you can't check the mommy, and yet you can check the calf. So too over here. So why does Rav say it's muksa? Rav was quiet. Rav has no answer. Comes Ling Abaye says, 1 second, excuse me. Not Abaye. Says the Gemara, you know what we can suggest for Rav? You know the reason why Rav could have answered? Rav could have answered that in the case of the treifa, no, it's still prepared. It still has some element of preparedness from the mother because you could throw it to your dog. And then, so why was Rav silent? Rav should have had a beautiful answer. That's why in the case of the calf, you could, yes, eat it because the mother, you also has usage, but in the case of the chick, it has no usage, so it's muksa. Comes Ling Abaye, and Abaye says, whoa, what is going on over here? Says Abaye, in the case of the calf, because you could throw the mother to the dogs, that's going to make it mukhan for a person? Of course not. It's a totally different usage. Is that going to make it not muksa? For human intervention, for human usage, is the mother have any usage? No. So the calf has any usage? No. So says the Gemara. So that is why Rav was silent. Amar le, says Rabba to Abaye, and yes, muchan adam, lavi muchan leklavim. If something's prepared for a person, then it's not prepared for the dogs. The ma'id chazle inish, lo shadle leklavim. But says Rabba, and I'm sure many were anticipating this answer. Muchan leklavim, avi muchan adam. The daiti the inish, I call me de chazile. Anything which potentially could use for you. Says the Gemara, a very important distinction. If I have food that is set aside for myself, muchan la'adam, I have a steak in my freezer. Lo'avi muchan leklavim. I'm not going to give my dog my steak. That's human food. I'm never going to do that. But something which is fit for a dog, I have das in it. At some level, I might use it. At some level, it is considered prepared for my usage, and therefore, what's the take home? Everyone's wondering, what does that mean? If I have something for my dog, I would use it myself. No, I wouldn't. Because says the Gemara, no, the difference is the calf that's born. Meaning, the mommy is a treifa. So says the Gemara, the mommy you could throw to a dog. So we just asked a moment ago, said Abaye, because you can throw the mommy to a dog makes it usable for humans? No, it's not for a human. It's still going to be muksa. Why is it going to be muksa for a human? Because the fact that you can throw the mother to the dog has nothing to do with me. For my usage, it's muksa. It's separated. It's nothing to do with Shabbos and Yontif. I can't touch it. Explains Rabbah, no. Once a human has some level of usage with an item, muchan leklavim will be muchan la'adam, will be considered prepared to a person. A person does not remove his das, does not remove his mind from something that has some level of connection to. And therefore, the take-home will be, that's the reason why the egel, the calf, you're going to be allowed to used. Says and therefore now it makes a lot of sense why Rav was quiet. Says the Gemara, Tanya Kavasei the Rav, Tanya Kavasei the Shmuel. After we had this bit back and forth, why was Rav correct? Rav, excuse me, I messed it up. That's why Rav is correct. Again, Rav said that chick is muksa. Shmuel said it's not muksa. We had a whole discussion. Rav seemingly was quiet. Why was Rav quiet? He should have answered this. Abaye said this is the reason why Rav was quiet. Now the Gemara answered up Abaye, which means Rav seemingly is correct that the chick could be muksa. So says the Gemara, Tani Kavasei the Rav, Tani Kavasei the Shmuel. Alright, to Rav that a chick that is born on Yontif is muksa. Alright, to Shmuel that it is not. Tani Kavasei Vitim Rav Yechlan. Shmuel Vitim Rav Yechlan. Tani Kavasei the Rav, alright, to Rav Egel Shenol be Yontif mutter. The calf is born on Yontif is mutter. Efroyach Shenol be Yontif also explicit in the Beitzah. A calf that's born says the Beitzah is allowed, but an Efroyach, a chick that is hatched, is not allowed. And this Beitzah explains exactly what we just said. What's the difference between a chick and a calf? Why is the calf yes allowed to be used and why is the chick not? The reason is because the calf is prepared due to its mother. Whereas the chick is not prepared. There's no mommy chick. I mean, there is a mommy chick, but there's no mommy over here because you have a chick in a shell, and therefore it's not prepared. Therefore, it's muksa raya to Rav. Says the Gemara, beautiful. Tani Kavasi the Shmuel Rav Yechanan. Now we have a right. The other opinion. Who is the other opinion? Shmuel, the name of some say Rav Yechanan, that says the right. Egel shall be yantav mutter. Calf that's born is allowed. V'fresh shall be yantav mutter. A different price. And this price is explicit, like Shmuel v'tim Rav Yechanan. A froyach shenoiled be yantav. A chick that's hatched is mutter. My time is that muchan agavim of zem matter atzmai b'shchita. A different reason. This one, the calf is prepared due to its mother. This one is matter atzmai b'shchita, that it permits itself by shechting in. If you shecht the chick, you're obviously allowed to eat it, and therefore that's why Shmuel says the chick does not take on the status of muksa. It's yontif. You potentially could shecht it, therefore it's not muksa. Tanu Rabbanan, says the Gemara. Opinion number 3. We had Rav, we had Shmuel v'tem Rav Yechanan, whether the chick is muksa. Tanu Rabbanan, efrech shall be yontif aser. Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov Aimer af bechol aser. Whoa, we had a machlekes of a chick born in yontif whether it's mutter aser. Says this Brisa. Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov comes along with a massive novelty. Afilu b'chol. It's going to be aser. Why? Fishaloi nitpat chayinav. It didn't open its eyes yet, and until it opens its eyes, says Rav Eliezer, you're not allowed to eat. You're not allowed to shecht this chick. Why not? Well, what's the problem? It's a regular chicken. You're allowed to shech chickens. So why can't you shech this chick? Come on, Oslo the Tanya, we see in a rice. It says in the pasuk in the Torah, everything that creeps on the earth, you're not allowed to eat them. It's a toyeva. The rabbis, what does this come to include? Says the Brisa. The chick, before it opens his eyes, it's an abomination to eat it. That's a Brisa. So who does that go like? Come on, Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov. So Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov is a totally new din. We had a machlekes Rav and Shmuel v'dim Rav Yechanan. What is the status of a chick, which is born on Yantif? Do we say, says Rav, it is muksa? It's not like the calf. The calf is prepared due to its mother. This has no mother. It's not prepared. It's muksa. Or it says Shmuel, it's not muksa. Why? Because it's just like you could shech the chick. Therefore, it doesn't take on the status of muksa. Comes along Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov, says even on the weekday you can't touch this item. Well, you're not allowed to shech it. Why not? Because it didn't open its eyes yet. To shech the chicken that didn't open its eyes, says Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov, is a toyeva, is an abame nation. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. That's really the end of this discussion of a froyach shenoiled biyantif, which of course was brought down as a first cousin to our Mishnah on Daf Beis of a Beitzah shenoiled biyantif. And again, now just to remind, we have 3 opinions of a froyach shenoiled biyantif. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Beitzah imitziyasa nigmara. Says Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, an egg when it comes out of the mother is considered fully formed. Says Gemara, what does that statement mean? When it comes out, it's fully formed. If you can tell him, meaning and the moment it comes out, you're allowed to eat it with milk. It sounds like when the egg comes out of the mommy chicken, the hen, now you're allowed to eat it with milk. But let's say if the egg was inside the mommy, you shechted open a hen and you found an egg inside it, it sounds like it's forbidden to eat with milk. It sounds like it will be considered at some level like chicken. Of course, this opens up the eye-opening discussion. Why is an egg not fleishiks? Why is an egg par? If the chicken is fleishiks, came from the chicken, and because it was before it became into a chicken, it's allowed to be eaten with milk. Fascinating idea. Why? So says the Gemara, maybe that's what it means in Mitziyas and Nigmara, that when it comes out, it's its own entity. Now it's a separate entity called an egg, and now it can be eaten with milk. What's the obvious implication? That when it was inside the hen, meaning if I shech the hen and there happened to have been an egg inside, like we learned back in Daf Beis, then the diak would be also to eat with milk. Vatanya, that's not true. We learned in a Beitzah, so what does this Beitzah mean? That an egg, when the egg comes out of its thing, it is considered complete. Ella says, the Gemara, the last narrow line, you know what it means? It means that when it comes out, it's considered fully formed. And therefore, you're going to be allowed to eat it on Yontif. Meaning, if it came out before Yontif, then on Yontif will be allowed to be eaten. It's considered full before Yontif, so you're allowed to eat it today on Yontif. What's the obvious implication again? Now, if this egg was in the mother before Yontif and came out on Yontif, you would not be allowed to eat it. But we learned in a Beitzah, Maybe the Bryce is arguing on the Mishnah. We have a different Mishnah. Based on the Beyond the Mishnah, everyone agrees that the whole machluk is only when the egg came out, but inside the mother is going to be mutter. Maybe this will just be salafilu be me'ima nami asri. Vadiktani no the diakoch in the beishamai. Tafilu no the nami shari. Allah the tanya sheikh lesdan goes to matzah basing gemurus mutaris lachlam biyantif. Mani lo bisham lo beisel. Elam tiyasa negmara. What does it mean? So it says Gemara they can't be pshat. And I know we just read that extremely fast. We're going to go over this again tomorrow, but let's just read a little bit more. Elam tiyasa negmara megadelas efraichem me'ima eina megadelas efraichem. Says the Gemara. A noob shot. You know what it means? It means that when it comes out, it's fully formed and it's able to produce chicks. It's fertilized. Who cares? And again, we're going to go over this again tomorrow. We're going to start from the second suggestion. What does it mean? We're going to start for this last narrow line. What exactly does that mean?